with Illusion of Gaia, the retranslated fan version, which I am very excited to play. I am, of course, a big fan of Illusion of Gaia. One of the big points is old 1993, 1994 translation. And so I'm excited to see what we're cooking with a fan-translated version. And there's also some nice, new other updates and tweaks and quality of life improvements in this version as well, which make it even more interesting. You'll see some of those right off the bat. I'm just going to share a link here, try to get some of you all involved. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to kick off here with the beginning of the game. So this is actually my first stream with a new setup. I got a capture card. This is running off my Super NT from Analog, which is an FPGA, the Super Nintendo console. I do own Illusion of Gaia on cart, but fan translated version is running on the Super NT off an FX Pack Pro. And I'm really excited and curious to see how this changes and improves the game, because I think Illusion of Gaia is one of my favorite games of all time. Its flaws are apparent in the original, but it does so many special things, especially when you consider how early it was released in the lifespan of the Super Nintendo. And it creates this sort of melancholy, just this melancholy vibe and texture and feel that I just haven't ever found in anything else ever since. And it was let down by its translation at the time. So I think there's a lot of room to improve on what's already a pretty great game. I will say, I am nervous because I struggle against some of the bosses sometimes. And we'll see how that goes. My biggest bugaboo with Illusion of Gaia is there's a finite number of healing items, which is insane. So you can get healing herbs, but there's like only so many of them. And if you use them all up and you're at the boss run at the end and you don't have any healing items, you just kind of you're in trouble. So right off the bat, you can see that, there's some new graphical elements added to this fan translation above and beyond just the regular text. We've got, these nice fancy borders, and I think each of the kids, Will's friends, also have their own borders, which is great. It's also nice because the font that they're using is better. It still looks like it's still a monospace font. Maybe it is the exact same font, actually. It just looks nice and tidy, cleaner. But we'll see how that goes. The Quintet font is so famous and well known, and of its time that it would have been a shame to get rid of it. So Will is talking about how he traveled to the Tower of Babel with his father and an adventuring group like a year ago. They all disappeared. Will wants to be an adventurer like his father and find out what happens because he doesn't believe his dad is dead. And so he's saying, because when that happens, I believe that somewhere I'll find my dad. And so he wants to set out on a journey to find his missing father eventually. So the priest says, today's lesson ends here. The four of you do your best so that you won't have to stay behind after classes next time. Furthermore, creatures resembling monsters have recently been spotted outside of town. When you leave, please be sure to have a parent accompany you. I really like the gradient that they use on the font. You can see that there's sort of like stripes of different shades of purple for Seth. And of course, like on an upscaled LCD or flat screen, you know, that's going to look a lot different than it would on a CRT. I can quickly, I have scan lines turned off because they don't really translate very well to streams, but you can kind of see the effect a little better here, that it gives it more of like a gradient effect than a straight up just like, you know, solid lines. But I think it looks really good. And just like speaks to the, I think that might have been the original. I don't think that's new. But I just think it kind of speaks to the feel of this game that's unlike anything else that I've ever played. So Seth says, all right, today too, same place as always. Eric says, I'm gonna stop at home first, then I'll go. If I don't go home right away, Mummy's going to find out that I had to stay behind for makeup. Lessons again, hee hee. And I can talk to Lance, who says, all right, to the coastal cave again today, huh? So, I mean, right off the bat, here the priest says, Will, please pray with me. Oh God, may the world continue to shine to eternity. Now, I'm not going to do like a one-to-one comparison of this and the original translation, but what I am noticing is, you know, the translation is it's still simply written. It's straightforward. It doesn't feel like it veers too far off from the original English release, but it is cleaner. It is just easier to read. Just feels a lot more polished right off the bat. So I am the fountainhead of life, Gaia. Henceforth I shall assist your journey. This area is only visible for those in whom the power of darkness dwells. Thou art a chosen human. In the area of darkness I can record thy travel diary. Thou shouldst drop by during thy journey. And so this is how you save in Illusion of Gaia. Later in the game, there are two other sort of characters you can turn into, and they get statues here. I love that this is just dropped on you at the beginning of the game with like no context. Will can just see some crazy ass portal. He goes in and some big speaking galaxy head guy says, oh, you have the power of darkness. Like, okay, what does that mean? That doesn't sound good. What I will not be doing on this playthrough is trying to get all the red gems. I will collect them as I find them, but I've never actually managed to get all 50. I always miss one or two here and there. They are missable, of course, and so it's not even. I'm not even going to try. So he says, hey, Will, you shouldn't be coming up here. I know I can't stop you from jumping down from high places like these, but I can't help worrying. South Cape, the opening town in Illusion of Gaia, where I'm playing right now, is one of my very favorite opening towns in any video game. It just feels like cozy, but realistic and well-developed. It feels like a real place that real people live, but mostly I just love the verticality of it. It's an oceanside village town, and so the verticality of it, sort of like descending down towards the ocean, is very familiar because I live in a coastal region as well, and there's a lot of verticality to the cities and the towns and the locations where I spend a lot of my time, and so I've always really liked that, and I like how it teaches you about the game's verticality because the level design is very like vertically oriented. There's, you know, dropping down from level to level, and you get to see a lot of that in this town, sort of showing off like, okay, this is what to expect from this game going forward. So this townsfolk says, you seem like you've got pretty fast feet, huh? Have you tried sprinting? Give it a try sometime. Mashing the direction button twice or pressing the sprint button, which is new to this remaster, I believe, while walking will both work. So in the original Illusion of Gaia, you just double tap the direction you want to go and Will sprints. But in this version, you can also hold Y. Look at that. Pretty neat. It honestly changes the feel of the game a lot. The double tap is just so iconic for Illusion of Gaia, and I believe Terra Enigma uses the same function. And so, like, holding a button down to sprint just honestly does feel a little weird. She says, I'm getting worried about all of these strange merchants we've been seeing around here lately. The stories of monsters appearing outside of towns must be good for business. Show me a crisis and I'll show you the capitalists, right? Well, that's a good smell. There's no stove in my home, so I cook in this pot. Cool. Must get humid. Watch for a moment. So this is a fun little part of Illusion of Gaia. As you enter the house, your house, of course, and your friends' houses, you get these little like introductory messages, kind of explaining who they are, your relationship to them, and stuff, which I've always liked. So this is my house. Perhaps Grandmother Lola is baking a pie. A nice smell is in the air. What I like about this too is that it establishes Will. He's a silent protagonist in that he doesn't talk, but he's like the narrator, and so you do get his voice. He does have that narrative impact on the game. He just doesn't converse, which I find interesting. I think that, you know, some of the best RPGs, my favorite RPGs, stuff like Grandia, stuff like Lunar, lean into protagonists who have like a lot of conversation. And then there's others like Chrono Trigger or Suikoden where the protagonist doesn't say anything at all. I like that Illusion of Gaia is kind of like trying something different with its protagonist, setting it as a narrator, as a framing device, kind of looking back on these experiences. So his grandmother says, "Oh, Will, welcome home. There's time until dinner, so go play outside." Will do. And Bill, welcome home. There's plenty of daylight left, so you should go play. Mwahaha. Splendid, splendid. You're a boy who can't study, but I hope for you to bloom vigorously. The Y button to run is weird because typically you can kind of like, you can't change direction while running in Illusion of Gaia very well. You can like, so if I double tap, I can kind of like veer, but I can't be running this way and then running that way. But with the run button, there's like 8 directional running, which again just feels bizarre for this game, considering I've just played it quite a few times. Salesman, this old man you're speaking to goes around to every house to sell weapons used for fighting demons. It's because the world's become so much more dangerous these days. But I'm still not going to go and sell weapons to a child like you. That's good, I would say. When I see your hair fluttering in the sea breeze, I get jealous. Mine is under this scarf. Now there is, let's go down here. There is 1 or 2 other things I want to do, but when you get down here, it's pretty neat. They add an animation effect of his hair blowing in the sea breeze, which I've always adored. And it's cool that it's kind of referenced. You don't get that up in the town. This is the red jewel that most people miss out on, and then they're just hooped for the rest of the game because you can't get them all, you can't complete it. This fisherman only appears randomly in this spot, has a red jewel in his little jar, and if you don't get it now, like before you leave the town, you just can never get it again. So that's an easy one to miss. There is another red jewel here in town that's also like missable, but you can also just find it because it's in a pot. And if you explore kind of thoroughly, you're going to find it just by clicking on stuff. So this says, I can't stand it when children have to see their parents quarrel every day, you know? And so this is Seth's house. This old man you're speaking to, go... Same guy. So I can go into Seth's house. As you see, just as I open the door to Seth's house, a pot came flying out. And you're kind of seeing, like, right off the bat, that sort of melancholy and tragedy and trauma is built into Illusion of Gaia's narrative from the very beginning. You know, Will's father disappeared on this expedition. Seth is dealing with, you know, like, a family that's falling apart. And, due to his father's alcoholism, I can't remember if the original translation, like, directly references alcohol or not, but it is interesting to see how, like, the game is about kids moving through the world, dealing with the trauma of their parents' generation and the world that exists that they kind of come into. So Seth's mother says, "It's not a joke, that man. Because of my son, Seth, I'm tolerating it, but if not for that, I'd have divorced him long ago." So in chat, Sam Howitt says, "This looks a lot like Illusion of Time." Yes. That is of course, the Japanese, or not Japanese, but the UK, the European version was called Illusion of Time. Here in North America, it was called Illusion of Gaia. If I could go back, I could show you that they've actually remade the Illusion of Gaia title screen in the style of Illusion of Time, because both English releases had different title screens, which is fun. Yes, Sam says from PAL region, so there's an obligation to mention it. And yes, it will always be Illusion of Gaia to me, but Illusion of Time, I honestly, like, in some ways, I think fits the themes of the game better than Illusion of Gaia, because this is very much about time and the passage of time, and there's like time travel elements and stuff. So I think that's a perfectly great name for it. Just making sure that this stream is... So here is my close friend Lance's house. He lives here with his frail mother. Lance's mother, "It's already been 1 year since my husband went missing with your father at the Tower of Babel, hasn't it? Somehow it still feels like yesterday." So that is sad. But this is obviously like, a moment or an event. These, like, fathers, I suppose, leaving this town of Southgate to go travel to the Tower of Babel, and sort of the tragedy that follows when they didn't return. Nobody knows what happened. Will himself returned, but many of the party was lost, and of course we will find out over the course of the game what happened to them. So my friend Eric lives here. "This house is the biggest in Southgate. I feel jealous of people born to families with money." It does not indicate how Eric's family makes money. There doesn't seem to be a large economy here, but perhaps there's just some, family money. Maybe they just own Southgate. "Everyone seems to be jealous of our big house, but it's not a big deal. It's just that our family moved to this town a bit before everyone. And so they were just established here. And it being, I suppose, a coastal town, you probably have trade and shipping. There's a lot of talk of salespeople and merchants in the town here. You can also fall into poverty. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, it's interesting to hear about, people talking, saying, like, they have this privilege, they have this wealth, but recognizing that that can be fleeting and things change, and the disappearance of, like, Will's father, and how much that's sort of changed the town here, I think is just an interesting themes to explore in an early, like, maybe mid-gen Super Nintendo RPG. Eric's mother says, "Don't worry, my back isn't on fire, haha. This is what you call mock Sebastian. With a big house, even when you're just cleaning, you can't help hurting your shoulder." I guess the perils of having a big house. the wife still has to do all the cleaning, I guess. The Dharma doll. But it's mysterious, huh? I wonder if this is the game called The Dharma Doll Fell Down. How long have we been playing this game? That was all just very strange. I like this. So a little scripted event where I jumped off the top floor of the house, and there's this woman walking around, almost getting jumped on, saying, you know, "Eek, oh, what are you doing? This kid, good grief." So it's good. South Cape just feels like home. You know, it's just one of those towns that I just think is perfectly designed. The fact you have all the townsfolk sort of moving around, doing activities, like that one woman with the pot on her head came over and picked it up here. You walk into houses, there's pots flying out at you, and it just feels, you know, organic, and I like it. In chat, Sam says, I've never actually played a quintet game. My experience of 90s RPGs is very square, soft, heavy. That was definitely my experience. Except for Illusion of Gaia, which I played quite a bit at a friend's house. And then I've played many times over the years. And then several years ago, sort of like what kicked off my interest in retro games again, like to sort of like go back into figuring out how to play them and just reintegrating them into my gaming life. Started with, I was like, hey, I really love pixel art 2D overhead RPGs, but like, you know, outside of like replaying Chrono Trigger here and there, like I haven't really been playing them much. I wonder if they still hold up. How does it feel to like move around a pixel art world in an overhead view? Like, do they hold up to the experiences of whatever, playing Xenoblade? So I went ahead and I ended up emulating Terranigma, which is sort of the spiritual sequel here to Illusion of Gaia, and Lufia 2. And both of those, I mean, I just absolutely adored the experience with both of them, and that opened up a rabbit hole of just like going deep, regathering all of my retro games from my parents' house, getting all my original consoles, and now I have all the CRT TVs upstairs, and I'm streaming, you know, like creating the streaming setup so that I'm gonna hopefully be able to play these games on my CRT while streaming like clean video to viewers and stuff. And so, you know, it's been a deep rabbit hole, but it's been incredibly rewarding at the same time. So we're gonna kind of go on with the story. I've honestly haven't really progressed the story at all. I'm coming to the Coastal Cave, which is where Will, Lance, Eric, and Seth hang out. It's a pretty cool little spot. I would have loved to have a little cave when I was a kid to hang out. So it says, and again, this is Will narrating, might be strange, but we even call this coastal cave our second home. Usually we meet here after our lesson at church is finished and chat until it gets dark. So they're just playing a little card game here. Seth says, aha, it turns out that I win again. Lance says, what's up, Will? Late, ain't ya? I'm playing a match of blackjack with Seth right now. Wait a sec. Suddenly, Eric bursts in. Oh, I missed that. Eric says, huff, huff, news. It's big news. You can see, too, that the in this version of the game, the fan translation, they've added this, like, kind of dramatic border because Eric is excited. So it's sort of like a sawtooth pattern, which is really effective, I think. I heard that Edward Castle's princess has gone missing. Supposedly, she seems to be headed to this town. Wow, that's pretty funky, isn't it? Lance says, what? With you barging in here like that, I thought something cooler happened. Besides, that princess is that selfish girl Kara, yeah? Who cares where she is? Eric says, well, there's that, but soldiers are going to come to this town to search for the princess. Aren't Edward Castle's soldiers cool? I just want to look at them. Lance says, oi, Will, don't hang around there. Go sit next to Eric. Seth says, I have no interest in girls. Reading books is more fun. Eric says, Gah. And I had been thinking that maybe everyone would be surprised. Seth says, all right, since everyone's here, what are we doing today? Eric says, I think I want to see Will's mysterious powers. Look, he showed it to us the other day, didn't he? The guy can move things without moving his hands. Lance says, if I'm remembering, I think he moved that stone statue in this cavern's nook. Will, show us one more time. So this is cool. One of the powers Will has with his little flute there is he can use sort of telekinesis to move stuff around. Lance says, whoa, it moved. Everybody's very excited. Seth says, no matter how many times you see it, it's still cool, isn't it? However, I wonder why things like the desk don't move and only the stone statue moves. So there are limitations, but I do like that the game kind of sets those out in a more natural way. It's not a tutorial window that pops up and says, hey, you can move these statues. You kind of learn on your own how that works. You kind of, you know, experiment and you know, naturally through dialogue, you get a sense of what the powers are able to do. So Lance says, all right, this time, do that card reveal for us. From the 4 cards, I'm placing face down, raise and show us one if you think it's the Ace O Diamonds. So the retranslation has added some flavor to the characters' dialogue. So Lance is obviously, you know, using sort of a lower class accent or whatever to show that, like, you know, they're all coming from these different houses and struggling with different things. Like Seth is into books and he's this quote unquote smart one. He always wins the game. So that's interesting. Lance says, come on, find the one that you think is the Ace of Diamonds. Will raised a card. Surely enough, it was the Ace of Diamonds. Ah, you got it, said Lance. Eric says, phew, I'm speechless. Hey, Seth, you call this sort of thing extrasensory perception, right? Seth says, you call it extrasensory perception, huh? The word means a sense that goes beyond the human senses. What we call the human senses are the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of taste, the sense of smell, and the sense of touch. Is what we call these 5. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that what you call extrasensory perception is a 6th sense. Lance says, I don't understand the things that Seth the Scholar says all that well. Seth, take out the cards. We'll have one more match next. Lance says, I'll play another match or so with Seth and then go home. Seth says, aha, it turns out that I win again, so just the generic dialogue. Eric says, I think it would be nice if I could also use a power like that. I bet you do, Eric. Now we have palette change because it's kind of twilight, like sunset now, which is cool. And Will says, around when I left the coastal cave, the sky had been completely painted by twilight. Even if I change places a bit, it ain't easy to fish out. Since I can't help but pity Seth, can't stand it when children have to see their parents quarrel every day. So I'm going to go back to Will's house. Is that up here? That salesman trying to sell weapons to my grandma. And Anne. It says the pig is destroying the room. And if you believe it, if you've never played Illusion of Gaia, this pig, we'll get there. However, why is there a pig in my house? Squeal, squeal. You can see a picture of Will's parents there, which is nice. As I try to go upstairs, this cutscene starts. Fabulous. And then a new character, Kara, who we just heard about, says, oh my Hamlet, you shouldn't bully people, you know? You're a child from this house. Will says, yeah, that's right, but the way you dress looks a little drab, huh? Will says, well, my bad. Where is your father? Your mother? They're not here, huh? Are these your parents in this picture? That's right. Dad went on an expedition. I know. It was Ullman's expedition team, right? There was an accident, huh? He's definitely coming home someday. Are you angry? That's wrong. I must have made you sad. I'm sorry. In this house, there's no piano either, huh? There isn't anything like that, but Grandma Lola is amazingly good at singing. Speaking of singing, they're singing upstairs right now. The two of them have loud voices. Lola says, "Welcome home, Will. I suppose that when I sing opera, I forget what time it is. Dinner isn't ready." Oh dear, it's been a while since I've sung so loudly. Your Grandma Lola was once a singer for a bar. Your grandpa's beautiful voice engraved itself on my heart. Or your grandma's beautiful voice engraved itself on my heart, so I proposed. Wahahaha. And Lola says, "Oh ho ho, stop it, dear, bringing up that kind of thing now." That's right. Will, you shouldn't be shocked. There was a girl here singing with us a little while ago, right? No! A shriek echoed from the first floor. All right, now. Illusion of Gaia. This music means business. Bill says, that shriek was from that child from a moment ago. Some soldiers have come for who we know as the princess. The soldier says, Your Royal Highness, we've been searching for you. Kara says, I don't know anyone like you. I said leave. What are you saying? If I don't bring you home from here, my head's going to roll. Kara says, I think you've got the wrong person. I'm a flower girl called Papongo. Papongo. Your Highness, do you think I can be tricked with that kind of red-faced lie? Ultimately, this is the King's order. Even if it's only with brute force, we're bringing you home. I'm sorry for lying to you. I'm Kara of Edward Castle. I think you were called Will. It feels like we've met before. For some reason, it seems like we could become good friends. So it's still night, as we can see, or dusk, I guess. I think I'm just meant to, like, because this is a game, this is just a solo, like, RPG, in, you know, a way, sort of, I mean, Soul Blazer would be the main comparison, but, you know, like Zelda, where you're just playing as Will. Will can then change into other characters with different abilities, but it's not a party-based game. So, hey, monsters have been seen outside the town recently. Did the priest in the church not warn you shouldn't thoughtlessly go outside the town? I thought maybe I'd be able to leave. Let's see what they say. So that girl likes to play practical jokes. Lola, if we're talking about Edward Castle, it has a giant aqueduct underground. Or it's the person who built that labyrinthine aqueduct, Will. Okay, I guess that's the economy, is Bill builds aqueducts solo. Will says, what? Really? It was because I was an architect long ago. There is a jail in that castle's underground, so that it would not be simple for prisoners to escape. It turned into a complex structure. However, the complex state of mind of the people that are sent to the jail are created every day. Well, with that painful story ending, we can have dinner now. I've baked a delicious pie, so come on, both of you, let's hurry upstairs before it gets cold. Ultimately, dinner was meat pies, topped with lots of whipped cream. I only ate one slice, but Grandpa Bill endured and even ate 3 slices. Then, that night, I had a dream of going on a trip around the world with Kara. Then the next morning, a terrible affair had tried to arise. Bill says, I had some leftover pie for breakfast. I saved you a slice. Thanks, Bill. Notably, they do not have a fridge in their house. So I don't know how well the pie and whipped cream keeps. Lola says, good morning, Will. A letter has arrived for you from King Edward. And the letter was written something like this. Bring the crystal ring from Olman's personal possessions to Edward Castle. King Edward. I love that the castle is named after him. Aidan Castle would be top-notch. Lola says, from the time I saw this letter, I've been ticked off somehow. That's it, Will. I'll teach you a good luck charm. When you're worried, if you whistle this, you can definitely get through. Lola hummed a mysterious melody. So I've learned Lola's melody. So what we're going to find, like Will, his weapon is actually a flute. So I've got this little, I'm spinning it right now. I can't attack because I'm in a town. But music is, plays a fairly significant role in Illusion of Gaia or Illusion of Time, which I like. And the music itself is just so memorable and interesting. And so I think, like, if you have a narrative that ties into music, having a good soundtrack is essential for obvious reasons. But I think that Illusion of Gaia, like, manages to kind of fulfill the expectations it sets for itself. So Bill says, crystal ring. I don't think I've even heard of that. There wasn't anything like that in the luggage your dad, Olman, left behind either. Anyhow, will you try to go to Edward Castle? You may be able to meet the princess from yesterday. Wahahaha. Lola says, go and be careful. So off we go to Edward Castle. Oh, come on, what? Huh? You say that King Edward summoned you. Summoned for you to go to the castle. Well, go and take care. Okay, so I can leave, but I do want to go save. The Super NT and the FX Pack Pro can do quick saves, but I will probably end up on this stream just using the traditional save system, unless the end boss rush is too hard because I've used all my healing items. Then I will save spam because that's just the way to do it. Okay. So I'm headed off to Edward's Castle. As you can see, the world map in this game, it kind of looks like a map. It just has like nodes that you can move between. Typically there's like, maybe a couple of different ones that you can move through at any given time. You don't have free reign or free roaming the whole world. So the soldier says this is King Edward's Castle. If you came to have an audience with the king, state your name. Will show King Edward's letter to the doorman. The soldier says, you're a guest of the king. Excuse our discourtesy. Please enter. So now I'm in the castle. King Edward is having breakfast. Come back shortly. So this castle is fun, of course. It's big and fancy, but it also has like a really nice sense of scale. I really have always admired Illusion of Gaia because of its like big sprites and big chunky environments. It just feels really ambitious. And the fact that like on top of that, it has these nice big chunky detailed environments and sprites, but also just plays really nicely. Like it's just smooth. A smooth game to play. Like there's no kind of compromise to achieve all of this. And I still like the fact that this came out in 1993 on the Super Nintendo continuously blows my mind. So just past this point is the jail that Bill was telling us about, that he helped build. Your will, huh? Weren't you summoned to King Edward? Somehow the king is making me uncomfortable. Be careful. You mean the king's dodgy? Let's see. Jeez. Hey, I was just, look at. This means I was just posting on Blue Sky that character in what's it called? Final Fantasy 9 says G's, which like canonically establishes Jesus Christ in the world of Final Fantasy 9, and looks like in Illusion of Gaia we also have canonical confirmation. That being said, of course, Illusion of Gaia does take place in the world. We will visit real-world locations. Southgate, Edward's Castle, fake. Angkor Wat, the Great Wall, the pyramids in Egypt are all real places, of course. Geez, this guy is so darn shy. But you know, having someone somewhere in the world that's always thinking of you. The thing with you is, okay. Nice vista. Look at that, beautiful. Love me a good vista. This soldier says this is Her Majesty the Princess's room, so strangers cannot pass. Kara says, who's that? Do I have a guest? The soldier says, it's a somewhat dirtied commoner boy. Somewhat dirtied. Will says, it's me, Kara. Kara says, that voice is... Please let him pass, or else I'll expose your old nickname. The soldier says, eek, forgive me for that. Please go ahead. Sorry, I skipped some dialogue. I was told to bring a crystal ring to King Edward, but he's awful, awful, awful. So it seems like Father's taking away the things that are important to someone else again. Even for me, you know? When I slip out of the castle for a bit, doesn't he punish me? But lately the atmosphere in the castle has been a little funny. I mean, gosh, my mother even hired an assassin. I think it's pretty creepy. The soldier says, Your Majesty, it's about time. Kara says, Hey Will, I'm very anxious. Dad and Mum seem like they're different people now. I'm begging you, help me. Take me out of here somehow, please. Soldier says, Your Majesty, please, you're definitely going to come for me, right, Will? Alright, your business is done, go home. Karate chop me? So I can go see the king now, I believe. And as you can expect, it's going to go very well. Let's go up this stairwell first, though. See what's going on here. This is a tiny castle. The king hired an assassin recently. I wonder what in the world he's thinking. Uh-oh. The soldier says, it's Will, right? We've been waiting for you, all right? Go to King Edward. No, I came and you were having breakfast, buddy. Soldier, if you're here for an audience, don't loiter. Address the king instead. First, Queen Edward. The king is the one who sent you the letter. Please speak to the person over there. The person over there. So Queen Edward. So Edward's the last name, so it's not named after him. Too bad. You can tell he's a king because he has a little mustache. King Edward, your will, you're dressed rather drab, I think. Well, let's get on with it. Did you bring the crystal ring? No, I did not. How dare you shamelessly say something like that? I knew you didn't have it. Well, soldiers, throw him in the prison. Then go search Will's house for the crystal ring. Yes, sir. Always. Will says, Old lady, help me. Queen Edward, did you say old lady? Uh-oh. Edward Castle Prison. If I wasn't seeing it with my own eyes, I probably wouldn't believe it. I wonder what will become of me now. Anyhow, if I don't think of a way out of here. There we go. I had a fluff. A ball and chain. He said something, but I skipped past it too fast. They might have gotten moral support from living with this moss, too. Oh, he's talking about, like, the previous tenants of this locker, or this prison cell. There's a lock here. That doesn't help me. Is there a key? This moss must have seen countless prisoners. They might have gotten moral support from living in this moss too. It's funny because, like, you know, the castle staff and Kara are talking about how, like, oh, the king's just hired an assassin. What's happened? He's changed. But then Will's also talking about, like, today, you know, or like how many prisoners have probably been kept in this cell, which I have a feeling the king has always been bad. They dropped my bread down a hole. Will tried to nibble a bit of the bread. It had become hard. It was the worst thing I had ever tasted until then. I sorely missed Grandma Lola's pies for some reason. Can I? Oh, here, look at. Oh, all right. This is the inventory screen, and so you can see I have the red jewel and the song that I learned. There are limited spaces as well, so as we talk about there being a finite number of like herbs in the game, it's not even like you can hoard them all. Also, because you eventually have to either use stuff or throw it out. So it's not great, guys. Will's condition. Use attack button for explanation of dark power. Okay. I don't have any dark powers yet. So I got some bread. And I really just probably have to wait at this point. Time flowed damningly slow. One long, long day ended. To a painful degree, I had come to understand that a prisoner has no emotional outlet. At that time, still trying to find a way to escape, I fell into a light sleep. That's pretty hardcore. From my flute, a voice I had longed to hear echoed through the silence that had filled my ears. And the flute says, Will, this is your father. Dad? I guess you're all grown up. Although you were a cute lad, our Grandma Lola's pie's delicious. Dad, where are you? I can't tell you that now. I have something to ask of you. Will you listen to it for me? So I have a choice to make. Yes, since it's you, Dad. Or no, you abandoned me. I want you to come to help me somehow. I was also a prisoner here earlier. Hey, please look at the wall on the left side. Ooh, look at that. I can pull it towards myself with my power. Will says, what's this? Did you not hear something from Grandpa Bill? My grandpa? He was an architect, right? The flute says, your grandpa, he knew the secret of those stones. The stone's secret? The situations that you're going to face from now on are going on be a little bit scary. The situations that you're going to face from now on are going to be a little bit scary. Just a little typo. Scary situations. Like, he's in prison. I feel like we're past that point, guys. The flute says, pick up the stones left by the enemies. The power of the comet is contained in them. That power will definitely be your ally. Then search for the puppets called mystic statues, which are hidden in the ruins spread around the world. The demons will become more powerful as the comet becomes closer. It says, Will, there's no time, so hurry first to the Inca's ruins. Sadly, the flute's voice gradually became quiet until it could no longer be heard. Okay. So, oink oink, we know who that is. Hamlet. If my memory is right, this pig is Kara's pet. Oh, a letter and key are tied in a bundle at its tail. Well, that's funny. These were the contents of the letter. It surprised me that you were placed in the prison. Father's gotten angry, but he doesn't listen whatever I say. I can't stand being here anymore. Tonight I will escape the castle. And from that, you will also be freed. I got the jail key. I don't know how to use it. There's the key. You can see here, so these spots are all the like regular items I can get. Around the outside, you can see there's 6 pillars, and those are where the puppets, did the flute call them puppets, will go, and they become quite important. So I equipped the key, and now I can use the B button to use it. When you inserted the key to the jail, the gate opened with a dull sound. All right, so this is like the first dungeon in the game. So I can open this guy's cell. I won't accept anyone's help. I'll show you that I can get out by my own power. Okay, buddy. Let's see. Ooh, we got a save spot. I think for this stream, we're going to finish this little dungeon. So he's just telling me sort of about the mini-map that I have access to that will kind of show... Oh, yeah, down there, there are some XY coordinates. What are that guys? Huh. I'm the Fountainhead. When thou defeat all the enemies in a set area, jewels that will increase thy abilities will appear. Thou wilt become stronger with them. If thou press the start button, thou shouldst divine the location of the enemy. Use it when thou art searching for demons that remain undefeated. Okay. I'm going out on a limb and saying those XY coordinates were not in the original, but I guess they maybe added them just I thought you could see on a little map where enemies were. But in any case, here we go. Haha. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So there's a map. I'm not sure why they added that text at the bottom. I wonder if that's an overstanding. Well, no, because... Not sure. So what we can see here on this map is there's 3 enemies in this area. I have not got the force power yet. That's that glowing, like, throbbing light. There's 0 items to find. And so, like, one of the things that... Illusion of Gaia really encourages is like exploration of the spaces that you're in. And so when I clear out an area, you can see I just got a stat upgrade because I killed all the enemies in that area. So my HP just increased, which is cool. Will says, that's right. I think when I defeat all of the enemies in the area I'm in, these jewels appear. And then there's also, you can see I'm gathering the little gems on the ground. I have 7 of them right now. You can see that sort of in the top center of the screen. There's a heart beside with 0. When I collect, they're kind of like lives in Mario. So if I collect 100 of the little gems, I get a heart. And the heart, if I die, it uses up. And I don't like... Yeah, it puts me back at the beginning of the screen. So here we go. You can see I can't really get that skeleton, so I kind of have to figure that out. And yeah, so defeating that one enemy right here opened up this area. So there is a lot of that in this game where you kind of have to explore and interact with your environments, trying to figure out how to open a path to the next area. And sometimes that is just defeating certain enemies, sometimes it's defeating all the enemies. But the game really wants you to explore and do everything in every screen. It's not one that you really are encouraged to push through. Defeating enemies doesn't give you experience. You can't really grind, but you can definitely progress and get stronger. So here's a good example of where I defeated all the enemies. My strength increased, but it also created I have watched speed runs of the game where they're not killing any enemies, but they still end up with like a full health bar at the end. So I don't know. Like there might be a way. It might be if like when you finish a zone, you get all the benefits anyway. I'm not sure. I've never really kind of looked into that. This statue says this is the same shape as a statue from the seaside cave. You can see a little dandelion fluff is flying around, which we'll learn about later. Dandelion fluff says, that hurts. What are you doing? You can see, so I got that strength upgrade, and now it's taking like fewer hits to take out the bats and the skeletons and stuff, which is great. Dandelion says, hurry, come this way. You won't be hurt by the demons. Which way? That way. I do have like some defensive ability. So if I spin my flute like that, it acts as a shield and deflect projectiles and stuff. So, you know, which does become important sort of the further you get into the game. So this is like the first big area in this dungeon where there's like quite a few enemies, as you can see. Probably also one of the first areas in the game where people are going to want to use them to make sure that they defeat everybody. But I got them all. Look at that. One thing I didn't do is there were those like balls rolling around on the ground. You can see here in the bottom left it says there is one item, treasure chest, in this area. So I want to figure out how to get that. That's moving those, and then found an herb. So an herb. That's one of those finite healing items. It's only like 15 of them in the game. You really want to hang on to them because it really is possible to get to the end of the game without any healing items. And there's like a boss rush mode that I would say is like harder without healing items than the actual final boss, because there's no way to heal in between, which does seem kind of crazy. I'm not really sure what they're thinking there. There's no currency system, but maybe you could have like just got healing items off of enemies. I don't know, but some way to like give you some options would have been nice. Even if they, even if they were rare, like, I can't press it down very much. It looks like it's rusted. Yeah, even if they're rare, like maybe you have to grind a lot. Maybe you only get an extra 2 across the course of a playthrough or whatever. Or you can only get them in the final dungeon or something, but, playing the game and getting a dozen hours in only to, get to the end and realize you just don't have the chops to beat it is so I found a red jewel in that treasure chest, and now this glowing ghost thing says, a glittering silver ball of darkness that appears when enemies are defeated. If you could collect 100 of them, the source of life will increase by 1. Even if you are defeated by an enemy, you won't be sent very far. So that is describing the gems that I'm finding on the ground. I've got 50 of them now, 0 hearts. When you die, it uses up a heart and sends you back either to the beginning of the room or beginning of the room, or maybe the beginning of the boss battle. I can't tell exactly. I'm quite low on health. That gem healed me, which was nice. I don't remember that actually being in the original, the ability to like heal up. Maybe I'm forgetting, or maybe I'm not, and I got added to this version. I'm not sure. So there's a dancing flower, which would be familiar to like anybody who's played Terranigma. There's definitely like a language to these games. Dancing, talking flowers is definitely one of them. The blooming flower says, please play your flute. Please play me that melody. So I need to go equip the song I learned, Lola's song. And then I can use my item by playing the Lola song on my flute. When it was done, a voice could suddenly be heard from somewhere. Mysterious voice. Please go in front of the switch on the right side of the room. Mysterious voice. The door won't open unless 2 people hit the switch at the same time. Match the timing with my camera and push the switch. The timing will be 1, 2, 3, right? Don't get it wrong. All right, the door opened. Okay, go ahead. See, can't reach them. Longer reach. One thing in this game that like really helps is higher attack, because as you can see, like a lot of the time, if I can just defeat an enemy quick enough, they don't have time to get an attack off, and that often like is more effective than having higher defense. Now, you don't control what you get. I don't even think it's random. I think it's the same every time. So it's not like there's a way to sort of like create builds in this game, but it is nice when you get an attack upgrade. So in this area of darkness, you can see a new statue there. That's Friedan, and we're gonna turn into him in a sec. The fountainhead of life, Gaia, says, thy form is a temporary one. Thou shouldst try standing in front of the statue that is beside me. And then asks if I want to save, which I do. A voice echoed inside Will's head. Oh, Will, I have long been laying in wait for this time to come. My name is Friedan. I am something that exists beyond time. Sorry, I paused there because Friedan's name is spelt differently in this version, this fan translation. From here on, I intend to assist on your journey. When the time for me has come, then by nature, you will know it. So Will's consciousness gradually receded. So, very shortly ago, there was an area where I just couldn't reach the switch that I needed to with Will. When I turn into Friedan, he's got a big old sword and longer reach. So Friedan is typically the character that you spend a lot of the time playing as in dungeons. He doesn't have the flute, and so there's, you know, some storytelling elements that, or like, not storytelling, but like environmental puzzle elements that he can interact with. So like, you know, you are going back and forth with Will and Friedan. Uh-oh. Is this it? Did I... Huh. Okay, give me a sec here. My, that's weird. The, game just... So I'm just gonna restart. You'll get to see the fun title screen, which, as I said earlier, is taken from the title screen used for, presumably the Japanese version. I can't remember, but it's the Power Region version. So it says Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia. This kind of more distinctly positions it as a spiritual follow-up to Soul Blazer, which it wasn't in North America. Kind of Sam, thanks for coming. You're saying you gotta head out. That's great. I really appreciate you spending time with me, and I hope you find your way to some Quintet games, because they're pretty magical. So fortunately, I just saved, but let's see what happens again. I mean, I would think this isn't a bug in the translation, just simply because, you know, you would think that the game would be playable end to end. Let's see. There we go. Okay, who knows what that was? But yeah, you can see here, Friedan, you know, can still defend, can still pull things and manipulate things with like that psychic power. But now I have long reach. He's also much stronger in combat than Will. But of course, the enemies has issues. It's almost like the game knows. We're getting close to the end of this dungeon. So this is a good example of the map where you can see that there's still like quite a few enemies left. There's one item that I haven't gotten. I haven't got the force, which means because if I return to an area and the enemies are back, I need to know if I've cleared out that area previously or if there's still like a chance that I like need to explore and find that last enemy that I haven't defeated or whatever. Wow. Retro motion machine. Here's the treasure chest, which is a red jewel. And so the red jewels are sort of an optional item that you get throughout the game, and they kind of act like mini medals, I guess, in the Dragon Quest games. You collect them, and as you hit certain thresholds, there's a trader, like a merchant named Jen, who will give you items based on how many red jewels you collected to that point. And if you collect them all by the end of the game, I think there's 50, then you unlock like a bonus dungeon, and then it turns out Gem's like the bad guy, like the boss of that bonus dungeon. Never done that because, as I said, it's so easy to miss one, and unless I'm going through with a walkthrough, it just feels like too much, especially for a stream. So this says presence of enemies disappeared. Will's transformation's cleared away. So once I'm out of a dungeon, I can't wander the world. I can't go into towns as Friedan, the ancient knight. So Will does just turn back into his regular self. It was fun. But that is also the end of the dungeon. So this girl, who is new, but has familiar colored writing, says, "I saw you, but you surprised me. You're a person that can transform like me, huh? I'm Lily. I'm a girl from the Itori clan, which is protected by flower fairies. Why do you know the melody that nobody but us has heard?" Will says, "I learned it from Grandma Lola. I play it when I'm really worried." Lily says, "I'd been treated to Grandma Lola's terrible tasting pies." Will says, "You know my grandma." "Hee hee. The truth is, Lola requested that I come save her." "Ah, the elder is calling. I have to go. We'll definitely meet again later. See you, Will." Okay. So, now this looks familiar, doesn't it? We are now back in the bottom of Edward Castle. So keeping in mind that the dungeon we just explored is the one that Will's grandpa built by himself. Impressive stuff. Checking all these barrels in case there's red gems or whatever. One of the things I think is kind of like that I don't love about this game is like the red gems are hidden in stuff like pots and barrels, and they're all over the place, whereas like no other items are. So there's no like rhyme or reason, like unless you're hunting out the red gems, you don't get any benefit from checking barrels. So like it's not really natural or intuitive to check pots and drawers and stuff like that. But Kara says, "You came for me after all. Thank you very much. That soldier outside, he was sleeping, right? The truth is, he used to be nicknamed Snot Bubble a long time ago. He's sleeping even now." Will says, "Your piglet came for me. It's named Hamlet. Cute, right? It's a very smart piglet. It's even got a little bit of a mysterious power." All right, take me out of here. Here we go. We're doing it. It's like, I'm sometimes struck by how many similarities there are to this game and Chrono Trigger's beginning, just with like Will sort of like looking like Chrono and the plot of like saving the spunky princess who's trying to kind of escape her, like, you know, the chains of privilege and stuff. But that can be said about a lot of different RPGs of this time, so probably just coincidence. Kara says, that's right. Since it might be a long journey, let's take some food. Won't you go to the basement for me? Is that where Will wants to go back to? I need some jerky, I believe. Let's see. That's why I went. There we go. My instincts. It's been a little while since I played the game. I think back when the SNES Mini came out, I played it on there. So it's been a while. But my instincts were to check these barrels, and that's obviously why. Kara says, with this, the preparations are complete. They got a hunk of meat, and now they're ready to go. All right, let's go before we're found by the soldiers. So we've escaped the castle. All right, we're finally heading out. Well, first, let's try to go to your house. You must be worried about Mrs. Lola and Mr. Bill. The two hurried to Will's house. So we've escaped here from the castle. We've completed the first dungeon, headed back to South Cape, and I think this is a good time to start wrapping up the stream for today. This has been a lot of fun. We'll see what happens next. I'll save, and I'd like to start streaming semi-regularly. It's not going to be a daily thing. I can't do that with my day job, but I will find time, an hour here and there once or twice a week, and I'd love to finish Illusion of Gaia with, you and everyone else who's watching this Fun Factor stream. Will says, why does it look like this? Kara says, this is awful. Who could have done something like this? Will says, what about Grandma and Grandpa? Kara says, Mr. Bill, Grandma Laura. Lola? I'll just quickly look on the second floor. I'm not sure if that is Lola a nickname for Laura? I don't know. Or is that just a weird mistranslation? Kara, come here, help. Will, it's a disaster, Will says, what happened? Look at this wall. This emblem, the mark of a leopard with black fur. That means Black Panther came here. The leopard and the panther are different cats. Will says, Black Panther? The assassin that my mother hired recently. He's a tenacious, morbid, sinister man. If he has someone in his sights once, it's already over. He's a man that with no concern whatsoever about things. He's a man that with no concern whatsoever about things like human life. So he's a man with no concern whatsoever about things like human life. Will says, then Grandma and Grandpa? There's Lily, she's back. Lily says, you don't have to worry, you two. Will says, it's you from a while ago. Kara says, who are you? Lily says, I'm Will's friend. Lily, do you know something? It's okay. Grandpa Bill and Grandma Lola are safe too. They're hiding in my village. Your village? The village of the Itori clan. I haven't even heard of a village like that. Naturally. There's a barrier put up in my village so that normal humans can't see it, you know? All right, let's go, Will. Will says, sure. Kara says, I'm coming along too. Lily says, Your Majesty would be in danger. Kara says, I'm definitely coming along with you. That way, I can truly become free. Lily says, that's just how it is, little lady. I feel like some lovely experiences are waiting for us. And Lily says, are you going to go and meet with everyone before going to my village? It might be a while before you can come back. So I was saying earlier that, like, this game is very much like a solo RPG, like you only ever have one character in dungeons and stuff, but Will does accrue a bit of an entourage of other characters, which is great. Lance says, "What's the matter, Will? You got a sad face. You having some problems that you can't tell us about?" Seth says the same thing he always does. Eric says, "What's wrong? You're different than usual." There's nothing else to do here. This is the last chance, I think, to get some of these, the red jewels. I may have missed one, who knows. I do know, however, that Merchant Gem is in this village, and I've got a few jewels now. Maybe I can get something. Let's check, and then I'll come back and save, and then that's where we'll wrap up the stream for today. So if I jump down here, this is Gem, and so Gem looks different in every different town, but Gem does appear, so you kind of have to find them. So I'm Gem, a jewel merchant that travels about the 7 seas. What's your business today? So I can say, didn't mean to run into you. See your list of goods or deposit my jewels. So Gem says, I will give you the commodity only when the collected jewels reach the number on the list. So with 3 jewels, you get an herb. When you reach 5 jewels, you get a defense force, you get a life force strength, you get a psycho power, which is cool, and a dark power. So 30 is sort of like the goal, I think, that you want to hit in a playthrough, which you should do fairly naturally. My secrets is 50, that's all of them, and that's where when you hit 50 you get the bonus dungeon and you get the like reveal that Gem is using the gems for some nefarious purpose. Gem says, these are truly good jewels, aren't they? Please, it is important to take care of them. With this, I think the number of jewels should have become 4 altogether. Whoops, the number of jewels you've collected have passed 3, haven't they? Going by the list, I'll give you a medicinal herb. So I got a medicinal herb, and of course, gets marked off, but these are cumulative, so I don't like pay 3. I have 3, and then once I get to 5, then I just get the next thing. So they're more like a reward structure, exactly like mini medals in Dragon Quest. And Gem says, by the way, if you lift a red jewel, it will fly to my location, you know. Sometimes that place may seem hidden. I am a master of disguise, after all. In other towns, you might not always recognize me. Huh. I don't know if that was in the original or if that's new, but being able to find him that way is cool. Okay, yeah, so before I save, up here, you can see when I stand still, Will's sheltered from the wind. There's no, like, movement. And then as I get down and closer to the water... Oh, why isn't it working now? Okay, cool, hey? I don't know. I think that's fun. Just a nice little touch. Oh yeah, over here, closer again to the water. Just a fun touch. Good little details in this game. But let's head upstairs, let's save, and then the next time we stream, we'll do Itori Village and probably get to the Inca ruins and stuff. And that's when the game like really starts getting going. So thanks everybody for joining me with Illusion of Gaia, this fan retranslation patch on this Fun Factor stream. I will put up notifications on Blue Sky, where you can find me at aidanmorgan.com, but also on the Fun Factor Discord. I will post in advance when I know when I'm going to stream. You can find out all the information there. I'm always chatting. I'm always in the Ultra channel, chatting with the Ultra members. If you want to continue to support the show, head on over to funfactorpod.com. Get on those buttons down below, smash, press, subscribe, bells, all those things. And thanks for joining me today. This was a blast.